Did this creepy 1990s MMO influence VRChat? You've probably heard of worlds.com at this point. It's very popular on YouTube due to the creepy nature of its empty, long-forgotten 90s themed rooms, and the weird people that are still roaming them to this day. Worlds.com was basically a chat room, but in 3D, where players could go from room to room with their avatars. Remind you of anything? And from what I can tell, it was extremely popular at the time.
Other things that we can do that you can't do in the real world. For example, we can have users representing themselves with their virtual identities, their avatars, to other folks all across the world instantaneously with the click of a button or the movement of their mouse.
The great thing about being a god is that you can play around with the basic physics of the world.
After playing for a few hours, I noticed some striking similarities between Worlds and VRChat, two games with around 30 years between them. Stay tuned to find out why this is so mind-blowing to me. I should probably mention that I wasn't playing Worlds in the 90s. I'm not that old.
How do you do, fellow kids?
But from my research and what I've gathered when recording this gameplay footage, it seems like every teenager with a dial-up connection would have been on board. Instead of the dated, text-based chat rooms that were around even when I was a kid in the 2000s, Worlds offered a visual representation of the same thing. You could hang out with friends and find like-minded people to chat with all around the world and see these people in the virtual flesh in the 90s. Worlds even had a variety of celebrity endorsements from the likes of Aerosmith and Britney Spears. Nothing is more 90s than Britney Spears and Pepsi collabing. There's a whole world or chain of chat rooms dedicated to Britney. Okay, so I added this voice line after the fact because it's been months since I recorded this footage, but one of the doors in one of the Britney Spears rooms opens up into this fever dream hellscape of sorts. No idea why. No idea what it's got to do with Britney Spears, but this is exactly why people call this game creepy. You're going to find out that brand placement is quite commonplace, which is one of the biggest differences between Worlds and VRChat. VRChat is very much user-generated, whereas Worlds is a huge, dated mashup of 90s goodness, with plenty of companies who wanted to pump money into it at the time. I mean, it's not hard to see why. This would have been unprecedented at the time. Let's get into some of the similarities between Worlds and VRChat. VRChat should need no introduction, at least not to modern internet users. Like Worlds, it's a series of 3D chat rooms, although with the ability to play in VR as well as desktop. And players can hang out, play games, and travel between worlds. Player avatars play a huge role in both VRChat and Worlds, and Worlds has a surprising amount of them to choose from. The only difference is, Worlds doesn't allow user-created avatars. Instead, you select from a pretty large amount of pre-made ones, all of them hilariously 1990s. If you were around for the first stages of the internet, then these are bound to give you a laugh. Some of them can be mixed and edited, for example, different heads and arms from the other avatars, which I guess counts as a user-created avatar, but in a very basic sense. The first major similarity that blew my mind when it comes to these avatars are the mirrors. If you play VRChat, you've seen them. The mirror dwellers. There's something strangely addictive about looking into a mirror and seeing a reflection that isn't yourself. In VR, this is one of the first things that will blow your mind about this type of game. In Worlds, you can also see a reflection in the mirror, which, let's be honest, is crazy for a game that came out around 1994, before I was even born. This leads me to my first question. Did VRChat take inspiration from this game, or is VRChat just the most obvious next step for this type of online social platform as technology has advanced? To access the different worlds, there is a list along the right of the screen that allows players to warp to different rooms. These are the official worlds, and are very limited. There are a variety of portals around that warp you to different places, another similarity between Worlds and VRChat. The portals allow you to leave one wall of your room that leads into another room and adds to the seamless transition between chat rooms. The types of rooms in these worlds normally have a topic listed above them, for example, books, movies, music. I would consider this a very primitive version of all the different purposes for VRChat worlds that exist today. In VRChat, you can join a golf course or go to a movie theater to watch films. I imagine once upon a time, these places were full to the brim with people chatting. Unlike the player avatars, users could create and upload their own worlds and invite others using the primitive friends list system. I actually got talking to some random creepy guy in the main lobby who took me on a tour through worlds that you cannot access without either the IP or link of the world, or from being invited by a friend who goes there. I'll show a few clips of this now, and you'll see what I mean when I say this guy was just creepy as hell. It made me wonder why he's just standing around waiting for new players on this game that practically nobody still plays.
Next up, I'm taking you to the construct. The pioneers used to ride these babies for miles.
Now, it's clear to see that these two games share a huge number of similarities. Is this because VRChat took inspiration from Worlds? Or is VRChat simply the future version of this type of technology? I did try to research whether any old employees or developers from Worlds.com worked on VRChat, but I couldn't find anything substantial. Due to the age of Worlds.com, information is very limited, and it seems like nobody on the internet has made this connection between the two before. One recent news article that I did find, though, details how Worlds Inc., the company behind this game, lost a lawsuit against Activision back in 2012. They argued that Activision was, quote, violating 5 patents it owned covering a system and method for enabling users to interact in a virtual space, in regards to World of Warcraft and Call of Duty. It does appear that they're claiming to have invented this type of technology, so I sure do hope they don't see this, or that they haven't heard of VRChat yet. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear other people chime in on this, whether you used to play Worlds back in the day, or if you play VRChat and are blown away by seeing the 90s version of it. If you did enjoy this video, please consider liking to let me know. If you want to see more content on a variety of games, both VR and desktop, consider subscribing. For a small YouTuber, this really helps me plan my future content. Thanks for watching.